Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel and especially welcome to the first episode of this new podcast called Elevate with Ayan Agha. And in this podcast, I will be bringing a few esteemed guests every week or every 2 weeks and basically helping you guys gain better skills, build your character and increase your knowledge in many other things. And hopefully making you the best version of yourself for the later future. So in this first episode, I have my very first esteemed guest. Flynn, how are you today? I hope you're doing well.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good, thank God. Thank you for asking. Yeah, it's been a good day so far. Just a good sleep and it's fresh day.
Oh yeah. All right.
How
How's
about
your
you?
Sunday going?
My Sunday's going pretty well, thank you. It's not begun really so far. It's just
Uh-huh.
begun. So this is the first thing I'm doing today.
Okay. That's great. That's great. So just a bit of a background story. Me and Flynn, we've been friends for 2 years now. I met him at high school, and now we're going to the same university. Not doing the same degree, but we have a few classes which we're in. And I just wanted to ask that since we've been at uni for 3, 4, maybe even 5 weeks now, how are you finding it? Have you adjusted so far? What's your experience like?
Okay, so put it straightforward, it's really good. I actually had no expectations joining university how life would be, but eventually it turned out to be much better than I expected. Um, Yeah, that's the best I can put it. As of I've settled in, I think my mind's already adjusted to the life at university, how it's almost free and everything's dependent on you except that you're the good if you're lecturing for it. So
Yeah.
otherwise, it feels pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I think the responsibility is slowly piling up, or actually they've already piled up and I've yet to recognize and realize them,
Yeah.
especially in the academic responsibilities like a lot of assignments and it's all they're almost things you every week, but the actual elevation and work that we have, it actually elevates you
Mm-hmm.
to work more responsibly, to work harder, and to just give your best. So I think you are staying well so far.
Mm-hmm. Because I remember before starting uni, I had legit no expectations. I don't know what to expect because university is so different to high school. High school, you have teachers, you have small classrooms, you have teachers telling you what to do, when to submit something, when to do homework and all that. University, on the other hand, is so different. I think the biggest thing when you come out of high school is that the sense of responsibility, as you said, and how you have to, be able to take care of yourself and be able to submit assignments on time. And basically, everything's about time management. So this brings me on to my next question is that because we've been at uni for 4 to 5 weeks now, and for someone who wants to go to university, maybe, start their course this year or even next year, perhaps, what are some things that they should know or prepare for before even enrolling in any specific university?
Okay, so if now there's a lot of things that depend on what degree you're doing. So if you're doing medicine, you're going to definitely want to have a good understanding of biology, or if you're doing business, you might want to have a little decent understanding of money and how it works in business. But even if you don't have experience, that's pretty good because most universities start from the basics. They just refresh your basics and go back. But in general, for university study, I would think one of the biggest things you're going to have to realize is that you're in for a very intensive ride. So assignments are just going to pile up. Your work's going to be really hard to do. But one thing that I would really suggest is lectures. Um, Truly try to soak into lectures. If possible, get a reading in before the lectures. Otherwise, even after the lecture, you can get a reading and just see what is being taught and stuff. As for assignments, one big piece of advice. We a lot of time we hear people say don't leave things to the last minute.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I would like to change the statement and put it around as leave the things that you have to do to the first minute. That is, what it means is the minute you are free, try and sit to get the work done.
Right.
It's something that I'm trying to implement in my life as well. Given that from the school life because in school we're kind of laid back. It's not too hard,
Mm-hmm.
and it's
Yeah.
easy to do. But eventually, there's a tendency to develop a procrastinative mindset. So you're just going to procrastinate easily, very easily, because it's in your mind that it's easy to do. And one big problem that we make, one big mistake we make, is we carry that mindset into university, and that will be like really hard at
Mm-hmm.
university because we do that. We're like, it's easy, and then we leave it to the last hour, and then
Mm-hmm.
you realize there's a reason they gave us a whole week to do the assignment.
Right.
So one big thing is to try and leave things to the first minute, so that the minute you get some free time, you can just try and work a little bit on it, because in that sense you can prepare it out. As for everything else, I actually think university can be summed up pretty easily. It's just that at like on campus, you're going to do like learning from others,
Mm-hmm.
and there's just three things: you learn from others, you learn from yourself, and you work.
Right.
So you're learning from others. Try and soak in as much as you can understand. Whatever you can't understand, thanks to technological developments now, lectures are recorded, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
tutorials are recorded. So anything that's recorded, try and go back to it and see what you can learn out of it. Learning by yourself, uh, most courses provide textbooks which you can skim through, or actually you can just go through lecture notes, but make sure you understand the topics. There's a lot of study techniques that I could go on about, like Feynman's technique, or maybe even active recall, or there's so many others, but
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
try and find a learning or studying method that suits you best. Maybe to some people it's studying at morning, maybe to some people it's just doing active recall, maybe to some people it's just reading and memorizing stuff. It depends on your mindset and depending on how your mind works. So, yeah, just about learning from others, keeping an attentive ear out, keeping an attentive eye out, just soaking what they're doing, about learning from yourself, learning by yourself. You're going to have to put in efforts to just learn how you learn this and work. Um, One thing I would suggest is I'm trying to implement this because we have a assignment due soon. So I'm trying to try and implement this. But what I would suggest is plan your assignment out before you start it and try and plan it out in chunks so that um, now, for example, let's say we have a person, okay, I'm going to use my example. I have a statement defense, right? So if you're
Yep.
going to defend the statement, what we're going to do is we have to find out about the company. So maybe you can set 4 hours to find out data about the company, to find out what exactly the company did that made them successful, and then you can spend some time thinking about the you can like spend maybe 3 hours searching for academic references and scholarly references relating to the topics that you're going to explain in the statement defense. And then you could spend about 2 to 3 hours sitting down and actually putting the words together for the document.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so one big thing about the work is to try and structure that, because when you have a structured plan, you know how you're going to work on. You know you have a checklist to work on. Basically,
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
to be. So just put all of that together. We go back over it again. Learning from others, keep an attentive ear and eye out. Just
Mm-hmm.
try and soak in what they do, soak in what they say, and try and, if possible, one thing I've noticed is when you're paying attention, your mind formulates questions. Your
Yeah.
mind starts asking, why is this like that? Why
Exactly.
is
Yeah.
that supposed to happen instead of that? So
Mm-hmm.
when you have questions, it means your brain's engaged. And if you, even one big piece of advice is, even if you're not engaged, try and find a question. Try and make up a question on the spot to ask the person you're learning from. And that time your mind's going to kick into active mode. So it's gone from passive mode of just listening and looking, and your mind's like drifting off to maybe Wonderland.
Yeah.
But what's going to happen is when you ask the question, your
Yeah.
mind's going to snap back to reality and be like, okay, I've asked a question. I need to know the answer, because
Mm-hmm.
that's what your mind craves. Your mind craves answers. So when you're craving answers, you're going to start looking at it, and that's when you actually start to learn. So learning from others, try and ask as many questions as possible, try and go over the stuff that they're teaching, and really soak yourself in that. Learning by yourself, learn how to you learn this. Maybe it's asking questions to yourself. Maybe it's reading the material and going like, why does this happen? Why does that happen? or maybe you just use different study techniques. That all depends on you. That is a bit of self-exploration you have to do for yourself. And work, just structure that into realistic bits, and make sure the goal is, try and make the goal specific so
Yeah.
that then you're not like, oh, I have to do an assignment. What are you going to do? You could literally submit an empty Word doc if you want. But
Yeah.
you want to be specific. Like, okay, in the next hour, I want to get one paragraph of my report done, one paragraph of my essay done,
Mm-hmm.
or one part of my whatever assignment is you want done. And
Yeah.
then if you set specific goals, and then if they're measurable, then you're going to go, okay, so I have to do this much in this much time. I'm going to do this much now, and then I'll
Mm-hmm.
take probably a 5 minute break, and I'll come back to it. So what happens is when your goals are specific and measurable, that time you start being able to think of efficiency. And once you start thinking of efficiency, you're going to be able to get work done. So just planning out your assignments and then trying to stick to them is
Mm-hmm.
going to make them much more achievable, much more efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
Also, one tendency you might be tempted to do is procrastinate,
Yeah.
which if you feel like that, one good thing I'm trying to implement this because I struggle with procrastination as well. But one thing I think I could suggest is probably take a 5 minute break. That's
Mm-hmm.
because your brain's wiring out of what you're doing. So maybe take a 5 minute break, but whatever is going to stimulate you in the sense like maybe go scrolling on reels, maybe scrolling on TikTok, maybe just reading a lot of stuff on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to stimulate you to stay on there. So maybe do something else, like maybe just go outside at the sun. Maybe if you can't do that, just probably like close your eyes and sit in silence for 5 minutes, which apparently, from what I've heard, is one of the best ways to rewire the brain to lock it in.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, yeah, that just depends on you. So avoiding procrastination is a big part of work.
Mm-hmm.
So that sounds like a lot for you for a student preparing for university.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm just going to summarize in this way: try and be serious about the work you do.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I want anyone who's keen to study at university to know is that university is not scary. It's not that, oh, there's so much responsibility, I'm going to like be crumpled under pressure. No, you're not.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what you're doing, and you're going to have so much free time to do it. So just be very keen on learning from others,
Mm-hmm.
spend time learning by yourself, and plan out your work so that it's easy for you. That's all the three things you need to have in life in general. As for whatever degree you're choosing, that depends on whatever prerequisites they want. But otherwise, university starts from the pretty basics. So anyone who's wanting to study at university, you don't need to be afraid that, oh, I'm not prepared for university. So the thing is, you don't need to be prepared for university because university prepares you.
Exactly.
If
Wow.
anybody, and if you're going to stay behind, like thinking, oh, I'm not ready, I don't want to do this now, I like to do it when I'm ready. One thing I want to tell you very clearly is that you do not start something by being prepared for it. Starting the work prepares you for it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No,
So I think,
I definitely agree with that. I just want to touch upon when you said for every student they have to structure out the day, structure out their assignments, how to tackle that assignment. Do you think that success at university depends on whether a student is a high performing student or a low performing student, like from their previous experience at high school? If they have had good grades at high school, then they automatically do well in university. Do you think that's a core relationship, or do you think it's not really relevant?
no, straight answer, no, I don't think that is because let me give you just one quote that popped out of my head. Hard work beats talent when talent does not work hard.
Mm-hmm.
So you could be like the most brilliant student at high school, and yet you could end up failing the papers at university just because of that mindset that maybe, oh, you're a high performance athlete, and it's too high performance student, oh, it's going to be easy for me. The thing is, your mindset is very important.
Yep.
So there are a lot of athletes who were not naturally talented, but they've worked so hard that they've become the best in the game. So
Mm.
what I'm basically trying to say is, as you said, yes, definitely there is in the sense, a kind of disposition as in if you're a high performing student, you have a advantage, like you have a kind of strategic advantage as to, oh, okay, I'm a high performance student, which means I can study easier. So what a student, what an average student would take maybe 3 hours to study, I can finish in 1 hour. So that's an advantage you have. But make sure if you're a high performance student, you can capitalize on your advantage, sure. But if you're, I'm not going to say low performance student, you just the thing is, you're not a low performance student. That's because what low performance student is in society is that according to convention, you take longer to study from the conventional way. As I said, everyone has a different way of learning.
Yeah.
Maybe just reading notes will take you 3 hours to learn a concept that probably teaching somebody else about or trying to teach somebody else and learn from that, which is 10 minutes different, is probably going to teach you in 1 hour.
Mm-hmm.
So it all depends on how your mind works. But I don't think that's like there's a there is a kind of correlation because sometimes what happens is it's kind of, I could say, there's like another third factor because if you're a high performance student, you have this natural inclination to be like, okay, I can study well. So maybe there's two ways. You can like procrastinating and going down, or just keeping going and studying well. If you're a low performance student, you can go with the low morale and be like, oh, study well, I'm just going to fail, and you'll actually fail. So,
Right.
but you can be like, no, I want to make sure I get to university and I pass with flying colors. You're going to. So it all depends on your mindset, and you have to understand yourself to make sure you succeed. But otherwise, I don't really feel that there's a correlation between high performance, low performance students just managing to do well or bad at university. It's
Mm-hmm.
all about what, rather, it's about how ready you are to make sure that you're giving your best to it. And then that's all I think there is to it. Because, as I said again, I will repeat myself from the beginning, hard work beats talent when talent does not work hard. So it's just about putting a mind to it and making sure that is because it is a very, I will use a strong term, but it's a very meritocratic world. So
Mm-hmm.
how hard you work depends on how much you get.
Right.
No, sorry, it's the other way around. How much you get depends on how hard you work.
Right. 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 That makes so much sense. In terms of high performing students, we've seen already the AI revolution, how it's changing, and I know a few people, including myself, who have used AI to submit assignments. Just for because we're so lazy, we procrastinate, and the difference in when a teacher or lecturer is marking something, the difference between the quality of the work that is submitted is really, really small now due to AI because, a high performing student can manually do an assignment by hand, let's say a 1 page report, and another person can do the same thing by using AI and, ask it to make it, very academically good. And so the difference in the quality of work is really, really small now. So I just wanted to ask that has AI changed our world in terms of an educational perspective, in terms of a student perspective? And if it has, then is there any way back? Because I've recently watched a few podcasts as well, and there are many like high school teachers talking about how they hate it when students obviously use AI, but they also hate it when they have the ability to produce good work, but they still use AI just to, save time and all that. So I just wanted to ask, is there any way back or, how much has AI affected everything?
Okay, this is a very interesting question.
Yeah.
Has AI changed our world? Straight answer, we're just getting started.
Mm-hmm.
It has not reached the boom of its like production or its utilization yet. It is still a very new thing because just a few years ago we had ChatGPT and some other few AIs, but ever since that AI revolution has begun, we have AI in so many things. There's now I've heard the University of Auckland is using AI tutors for their students.
Oh, okay.
And there are a lot of different AI things. Like there are AIs to help you learn. There are AIs to help summarize your notes. There are AI to do a vast majority of things. There are AIs to help you record videos or to maybe edit your videos.
Mm-hmm.
AI is just getting started. And as I do not remember his name, but the godfather of AI, um, he said we are not prepared for AI
Mm-hmm.
because AI, very honestly, I do not know how to rate AI. Some people hold it as objectively good, some people as objectively bad. I think everything is coated, which means it can be used for good as well as bad.
Mm-hmm.
I have heard a lot of concerning stuff about AI, but I've also heard a lot of good stuff about AI.
Mm-hmm.
So, is there any way back? I don't really think so because I will be very honest with you. The AI revolution, it does not appear to be, but it is on the scale of the nuclear revolution
Mm-hmm.
that happened back during World War II, especially when both sides were developing nuclear warfare, like nuclear warheads and nuclear bombs. But what I'm trying to say is that revolution happened, and we're not being able to go back from it. A lot of demilitarization, a lot of denuclearization is trying to happen, but we're not going to be able to go back from it. So if AI, well, once it changes the world is changed. We're not going back from it.
Right.
But the only point is we need to make sure that whatever we are making is not going to be so much intelligent that it's more intelligent than us
Mm-hmm.
and that it causes problems to us. As for an education perspective, uh, it depends because if you're going to use it to learn instead of you, you're not really learning.
Right.
AI is better off as an assistant to you,
Mm-hmm.
and that is one advantage I like about AI is that now almost anybody can have a personal assistant thanks to
Mm-hmm.
AI. So in case you want to learn something, it can summarize notes for you, which is actually what I've not really used AI a lot in my assignments. For maybe before tests, or maybe before trying to make a report, or maybe even actually for writing an assignment. I would probably ask an AI to try and summarize what's in the report I'm using for the assignment, so that I know what exactly I'm going to use the report towards. And then I can be like, okay, so this is what the report is talking about, and this is what my assignment is about, which are both in tandem with each other. So I can now go hunting in the report for stuff towards my assignment. Uh, yeah, let's just make it a point that we should not use AI to replace us, but to support us.
Right.
And I would just like to share one thing that I learned from an AI lecture I went during enrollment week.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it fascinated me a lot, but the person who was conducting the lecture, he said that AI is, he quoted a linguist in saying that AI is simply a random word generator,
Right.
and it has recognized human speech patterns, and that is why it puts words together that sound humanoid, I would use, not human, but humanoid. They sound very humanoid,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not very human because we can still tell the difference between AI generated work and actual human work.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that is that there's a lot to AI that we can talk about. There's sentience, there's whether it's self-conscious, but those are not things right now. Right now, AI is kind of something that's just developing. So AI is just begun to change the world. It
Yeah.
is going to keep changing the world, I'm
Mm-hmm.
certain. But it is not really in our control how it changes the world. It's just that human civilization as a general needs to be wary of the fact that AI could cause problems. But
Mm-hmm.
right now, let's just enjoy the extent it has played up to, and just make sure that it doesn't replace us, it supports us. So in the perspective of assignments, I know people who used AI for their assignments, and they've been caught by AI detection software, and they've been completely failed. This was at, I think, yeah, this was at high school.
Yeah.
So what I would suggest is, as the university has actually told us, we can use AI to proofread our documents. We can use AI to also make sure if the arguments that we've made or the points that we've put actually are bearing any weightage towards the issue that we are talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So, as I said, AI is very good as an assistant,
Mm-hmm.
but if you're going to replace yourself with AI, just think about it, because that shows your value. Because if you can be replaced by AI, what value do you have?
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. No, definitely. I just wanted to touch upon when you said the intelligence of AI, because I remember when ChatGPT came out, the I think ChatGPT's intelligence was somewhere around a middle school child, like their intelligence. And over the years, of course, it has gained knowledge, through human inputs, through the knowledge on the web. And right now, currently in 2025, the intelligence of ChatGPT is close or even better than a PhD student. That is honestly surprising to me. Just how in these last 2.5, 3, even 3 years, AI has, gained so much. And we don't just have ChatGPT. We have Gemini, we have Claude AI, we have Perplexity. Even Elon Musk, he launched his new AI called Grok AI for Twitter, for X users. That completely changed my mind. And that is honestly the most crazy thing about this world is that I remember Steve Jobs saying a quote before he died is that there are going to be two types of inventions in this world that will completely change humanity. Number one was the visual interface that they provided through their iPhones, the visual interface, and number two is the development of artificial intelligence in people's lives. Right. So these are the two things that will change and have already changed human lives. And I just wanted to go on to my next question is that if AI, you said AI will replace eventually a few jobs if you're not very skilled enough. And so you said that you have to increase your value in the market. Um, if for as a student, when they're trying to pursue a degree and they're seeing all of these jobs go obsolete because of AI, because that job requirement or that skill requirement isn't enough for you to actually keep doing that job. So for as a student who is coming into university, who is trying to pursue a particular profession, a particular career, how should they feel if they have some sort of sense as if their skill isn't that difficult to master and that AI can easily replace them?
Okay, now one of the hard questions. I will definitely consider that it's a hard question, but okay, on a world perspective, yes, AI is, when you made the point about ChatGPT being almost as, or maybe even more intelligent than a PhD student, that is very concerning,
Mm-hmm.
but also surprising at the same time. But I mean, there are a lot of dystopian novels or dystopian shows, and maybe even like games that talk about or like portray as AI having gone rogue and taken over the world.
Mm-hmm.
But that all stems from human points, from a human standpoint. But one thing I'm going to say is, we humans are so considerate and so resilient that we have always found a way out.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be during the famines back in, it could be during the recent, in the modern history, it could be from the famines, or it could be from even wars, or it could be from just political instability or revolution, or even in the medieval times from the Dark Ages and everything. We have always found a way out.
Yeah.
So, the thing is, nothing is eternal in this world, nothing is eternal. So, um, even this shall pass. If there's a problem, it
Mm-hmm.
will pass. And the best part about the world is it constantly evolves to keep almost as resetting the situation, but also evolving at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So for somebody who is scared that AI is going to take their job, um, being an economics student, I recently thought about this. If AI is going to replace, let's use a scenario, a world case scenario where every single person who's working has been replaced by AI. Now maybe companies could work cheaper because all of the employees are AI,
Mm-hmm.
but there's no human being, no ordinary human being working, which means they can't pay for the services or goods that the companies are offering, which basically means the companies are going to go bankrupt because they're getting no earnings and they're only spending on the AI doing their work.
Right.
And eventually all of society collapses because nobody has money to pay for goods and services, and companies are not earning anything because their goods and services are not being paid for, produced, or
Mm-hmm.
even like purchased. And eventually that will reset the world to a natural an economic equilibrium where we almost basically start out from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So in terms of the future, as if we're going to be like really screwed up by AI, that is not really a fear to be worried about because either way, anything that happens, there will be something that comes to kind of combat it or offset it.
Mm-hmm.
But for university students, especially who are scared that AI is going to take their job, I mean, using my example, I'm studying for economics and agribusiness, which mainly deals with numbers that AI is very good at handling because
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
as I've heard from the lecture about AI,
Mm-hmm.
AI is really good at pattern recognition, and that is exactly why it has learned so much knowledge, quote unquote knowledge, in such a small, I can't say it, but such a small span of time.
Yep.
So what basically happens is they're good at recognizing patterns. So they can't really take a job away. They can't think intellectually in the sense that if there was some intellectual crisis to arise, they would look at patterns in the past,
Yep.
and depending on that, they would produce a new outcome. But if something wholly new was to arise, I don't think AI would be able to easily combat that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the best part about humans is that we can find solutions to problems that are newly arisen, but I don't think AI has that capability.
Right.
So maybe it's just about you should, if you, for on a personal level, there are things that maybe you feel called to do, or maybe things that you feel that, okay, this is what I am going to do, this is what I like, and this is what I want to do so that I can maybe serve my purpose towards it, or maybe serve other people by doing this. It depends on what that calling is, but whatever it is, you should go head on into it because at the end of the day, Providence will take care of how things will pan out. And if you're going to be replaced by AI, the best part about human beings is you can always upskill
Right.
and there's always somewhere else to go.
Mm-hmm.
AI isn't that versatile. AI can't really, like, now if there's ChatGPT, who is basically a text generator, random text generator,
Mm-hmm.
you could possibly write you essays or reports or even theses, matter of fact.
Mm-hmm.
But if you ask ChatGPT to probably take over the production of a certain good in a factory, it will crash because it can't
Right.
handle it.
Mm-hmm.
So it all depends on humans because we are versatile.
Yep.
So just make sure that when you're studying at university, don't be very stuck on just one thing and be like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Because if you're, for example, if you're studying computer science and you're going to go, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Sure, you could be helping in creating and maintaining AI, but there could be a point when AI is going to replace your work.
Mm-hmm.
So don't be very rigid as to be like, it's only this that I can do.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure to stay versatile. And of course, there are dangers like this, but do not let the fear set you back. Because if you think about it, anything and everything you do, for one reason that you have to choose that, okay, I'm going to do this, there's going to be like 10 to 20 reasons that you should not be doing this.
Mm-hmm.
But just sticking to what you're going to do is probably the best way to go ahead. And if, as I said, anything happens in the future, we humans are versatile enough that we come up with solutions to problems that have never arisen before.
Right. So
So there's
that
just,
makes that makes complete sense. When you said about how if a student were to go through, let's say, choose computer science, there are already websites out there that use AI to create websites, right? Even applications, iPhone applications, Android applications, and I just remembered something about agentic AI. I don't know if you've heard about agentic AI.
I have heard the term thrown around,
Yeah,
uh, because, oh yes, I've heard generative AI. And I, yeah, I think I'm not exactly too sure what agentic AI means, but I think it's like in the sense that there's AI agents that are specialized towards performing certain tasks, which is something I think I've heard of, but I'm not
yeah.
too sure. I'm really keen for you to explain about that.
Right. So, for those viewers who are watching this and don't know what agentic AI is, aside from aside from generative AI, where you put in a prompt for, let's say, ChatGPT, DeepSeek, or whatever, you put in your prompt, and ChatGPT, using that knowledge that you've given, and of course the knowledge that it has already available, it's going to produce something for you. Okay. So, for example, if I want to write a report, on Mars and I give you all the facts about Mars, and I also give you like the website of, let's say, SpaceX and whatever. So it uses all that knowledge to come up with a very compelling report about Mars. Okay. Now, agentic AI is something very, very different. Agentic AI is, to sum it up, like you said, Flynn, AI agents that help you do the work without you having to, go through all of that hassle. So I'll give you a very small example, and it's a very common example. So let's say I am a businessman and I have a client in Australia, and I have to fly to Australia to meet him to discuss with him. Okay. Now, of course, when it comes to booking flights, I have to look at what flight I'm gonna take, when I'm gonna go, when I'm gonna depart, when I'm gonna arrive, what hotel I'm gonna stay in, where am I gonna eat at, all that sort of stuff. So, of course, as a person, as a businessman, I have to plan all of that before actually going to Australia. Otherwise, I don't know, I'm going to land in Australia not knowing what to do, when to do it. And so agentic AI will basically, you give it your own information, as in, where do you want to go? Let's say you want to go to Melbourne. You tell it, I'm going to go to Melbourne. And using your previous data, let's say you've been traveling to Australia back and forth many times, using your previous data, it's going to see what flights you took, when did you depart, when did you arrive, what hotels did you stay at, which restaurants did you eat at, and so on and so forth. So it's going to use that data to automatically book you flights, book you hotels, even give you restaurant reservations and all that. So you have completely no hassle in terms of whether you want to book the flight and all that. So that is basically what agentic AI is, and it's commonly known as, there's this French word, but I've forgotten what it was, but it's commonly referred to that in many different articles as well. But yeah, this is basically the future of AI, and I just wanted to sum up what my last question will be, is that because of all this AI stuff, and of course you also pursuing agribusiness and economics, I think, as I remember. So lastly, where do you see yourself in the next 4 or 5 years? And do you think university and AI will play a role in your success in the later future?
Okay, in the next 5 years, I'm not very certain as to where I will be because I don't know where life's going to take me.
Mm-hmm.
But here's what I'm studying. I would hope to possibly be doing something in business and also using the economic side of things. It could be, I do not know where I'm going to end up. I could end up in a bank being an economist, or maybe on the field helping other farmers trying to understand how they're going to manage to get the best out of their agricultural business or the agricultural farming which they're doing. So
Mm-hmm.
it could go either way, or it could go together as well. As for university, well, definitely university is going to play a big role in that because university is where I'm learning from. And one big thing that I think a lot of people overlook is that university, a lot of people look at university as a place to purely study or like mainly study.
Mm-hmm.
But one big thing that people should be doing, but they're not really doing at university, is networking. So
Right.
networking is one of the biggest and the best things you can do at university. That actually sets you up for the future as well. So that if you're going to network at university, university is going to play the biggest possible role in your life because that network is going to be what is going to build you up.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just thinking about this. So if you're going to talk about networks, one thing that the two things I'm going to say is the network you build is the network that builds you,
Right.
and the network you build is a reflection of who you are, and it should also be a reflection of who you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
So in that sense, if you should be using, I'm not saying that only to that, but make sure that academics and also networking go together hand in hand at the university, which is going to play a very big role in the future.
Mm-hmm.
As for AI, given the current capabilities, I'm not going to be surprised if in 5 years AI is extremely advanced and it's going to work really well.
Right.
But I'm pretty sure that there are quite a few critical thinkers out there in the higher echelons of the business world and the technological world who understand that If you're going to give AI too much power, it's basically going to replace you.
Mhm.
And hopefully those critical thinkers will come up with solutions that will make sure that AI is going to be an assistant to you. But given that very honestly, the pace at which human civilization and technology is developing, I cannot with certainty say what is going to happen in 5 years.
Right.
But one thing is that I think definitely in for the coming 5 years, one thing I might be able to say that I'm prepared,
Mhm.
or at least I'm mentally prepared in the sense that okay, this anything can happen. So being versatile in terms of preparation is one thing that I want to be. As for where do I see myself in 5 years, academically or maybe even professionally, it all depends on how work is going. I could end up at the end of 3 years being like, oh, university was so good, I want to go back and do a master's. Or
Right.
maybe I could be like, university was very good, but I feel that I've learned enough and
Mhm.
I feel that I could learn much, much more by being on the job and getting work experience.
Mhm.
So I think, yeah, it all depends on how fast the future is going to go, where the future is going to go, which is not really predictable right now at the
Right.
moment.
Yeah.
But one thing I would say is that make sure university will play a big role in the sense of your academics and your networking.
Mhm.
Meet a lot of people, but and also AI. Try and make sure that you are not one of the people who uses AI to replace you, because that AI lecture that I went to raised that question. It was a very good point that raises critical thoughts, as in how what is your prize, or like what is the value of you as a person if you can be replaced by AI?
Mhm.
But that's my point. So do not let AI simply just replace you. You have to keep building value so that you get better. That is what I'm trying to do. Hopefully in the coming 5 years, or by the end of the next 5 years, I will have built enough value that for myself and for others, that AI just only has to keep learning.
Mm.
And I hope that that's what everyone else will do as well. Just keep building value so much that we are upskilling and growing at a rate faster than AI can learn. That way we will always be one step ahead of AI. And I think that's one thing I want to be. In five
Right.
years, one step ahead of AI.
Mhm. Well, I
That's
think
good.
I think that's a very great answer.
Yeah.
Just before I finish off this episode, I have six rapid fire questions. So you have to, of course, answer them very, very quickly. All right.
Okay.
So number one is one book or podcast that every student should listen to or read.
I've not checked out a lot of books or podcasts, but one thing I'm going to say is read Atomic Habits. It will actually help you build better habits and help you grow up in value.
Are you a morning person or a night owl?
I am kind of both, because the thing is, if I wake up early in the morning, I can really get work done early in the morning, but sometimes I can stay up late at night and do it. So
Mm-hmm.
I am kind of both. I would rather just say I'm very, I don't really, I can't even remember the word, but I'm a very opportunistic person, so I can capitalize on any opportunity. And any morning person or night owl, anything works for me.
Right. Best AI tool you've used so far?
I've not used a lot of AI so far, but one thing I recently used it with your help, Recraft AI to
Yeah.
generate images,
Mm-hmm.
and I was actually surprised at how realistic the images are. So I think that's kind of good if you're generating images for to help you supporting your work. But otherwise, I do not really know much AI.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah. One thing that you like and hate about uni?
what I like about uni is that our uni isn't too hectic at the same time. It's like there are people, but it's kind of spacious as well.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing I really love about uni is the freedom you have, the fact that you are able to decide how you want to live at uni, how you want to study at uni, and how you want to work.
Mm-hmm.
As for one thing I hate at uni, I have really discovered so far, but sometimes it's just that it's too packed,
Yeah.
too many people sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing. Those are two things I feel about uni, but
Is
I
that in
have
like
really
specific areas in the uni or just like overall in the uni?
um kind of specific, especially in like in no, actually it's kind of overall. So sometimes it's kind of too hectic because sometimes there are a lot of people coming in.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I don't really have anything very specific about what I love and hate at uni,
Mm-hmm.
but I genuinely do like uni life. So that's one thing I love.
Okay. And oh, this one's a good one. If you could master any one skill, what would it be?
Okay. Uh, okay. the ability to learn anything at an unprecedented pace. That
Okay.
is that is now if I had a book that I could read once and learn from it everything that it had to offer me,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe I could listen to a podcast and be like, okay, these are the lessons that I got from the podcast, and I could learn that. And not only learn that, but when I mean that ability, I mean that also it's learning in the sense that I can put it in practice.
Mm-hmm.
That's one skill I want to have, is that to be able to learn anything at an unprecedented rate that I will be able to implement. That's one skill I wish to have.
All right, that's great. And last question, is AI a friend or foe to you?
So far, it is kind of friendly. I have kept it at arm's distance to be
Right.
very fair.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not really fair to me. It does get on my nerves sometimes when I ask it a question and when I again ask the same question, it gives me two different answers.
Okay.
But otherwise, yeah, it's kind of a friend to me in the sense it helps in assisting my work. And as I said, that should be the role I would think that AI should do rather than replacing it, should support you. But
Mm-hmm.
I would like to keep it as a friend.
All right. That's all for today. Thank you so much, Flynn,
Well,
for being part of
thank
this
you for
podcast
having me.
episode, number one podcast episode of Elevate with Ayan Agha. I know we've been like doing back and forth for quite a while and we haven't had that much time to actually prepare, but finally we've been able to prepare this Sunday. And for those of you who are watching on the channel on YouTube, please make sure you subscribe to the channel and subscribe to this podcast specifically because there's more episodes to come. This is not the only one. So stay tuned and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.